Good morning, good morning, good morning. Happy Wednesday, everybody. It's hump day, so we're halfway through the week. Shout out to you, shout out to me for getting through it. First, I want to give a shout out to the Lovings. Today is called Happy Loving Day. And the reason why is because we honor a couple, Richard and Mildred Loving, who went to the Supreme Court regarding their love for each other. They were an interracial couple. And 52 years ago today, the Supreme Court ruled states could no longer deem interracial marriages illegal. And that was because of the Lovings. So thank you to them. And also I want to give a shout out to my parents, because 3 years right after that, they were married in the toughest times, because that was really a tough time back then. So I thank them for having the courage, and the Lovings and anyone else who got married in that time and who's married now as an interracial couple. I really appreciate and applaud you for having the courage to do that. Also, I don't know if anyone saw America's Got Talent last night, but if you caught it right at the end, you didn't miss Tyler, the little boy who played the violin. Oh my God, I cried. This boy played amazingly. And he played out of being bullied from school. At school, he was trying to find an out because he was getting bullied all the time. And it seemed like they had violin lessons. He decided to take them. Free violin lessons they had. Anyway, it changed his life. And if you saw the way he played last night, you would understand why. And Simon hit the golden button for him, and he said that was a shout out to all the bullies out there. So I really appreciated that. But definitely shout out to Tyler. He is going places for sure. Also, I'm excited today and a little nervous because I have a very special guest with me today, beyond special. She was my high school guidance counselor, everybody. So I'm really honored and happy to be bringing her on in just a few minutes. But before we do that, I want to give a shout out to all the birthdays today. If your birthday is today, happy birthday to you. And let me check out my celebrity birthdays. Okay, so we have Little Duval, George W. Bush, and Mark Henry. So happy birthday to you all, along with you if it is your birthday today. We will be right back in just a second with my special guest, so stay focused.
These people might look similar to you. Some are patients, and some are volunteers. A lot of people without insurance are unsure where to turn. At Bradley Free Clinic, physicians, dentists, and others volunteer to provide free services to people who need them. A healthy community depends on everyone. If you don't have insurance, we can help, because we bring together great health providers and the people who need them. These people might look similar to you. Some are patients, and some are volunteers. A lot of people without insurance are unsure where to turn. At Bradley Free Clinic, physicians, dentists, and others volunteer to provide free services to people who need them. A healthy community depends on everyone. If you don't have insurance, we can help, because we bring together great health providers and the people who need them.
Go anywhere you want to go. Leave your transportation needs to J&K Tours of Roanoke, Virginia, and expect a hassle-free travel experience. Go anywhere you want to go. Travel without worries. Leave your transportation needs to J&K Tours of Roanoke, Virginia, and expect a hassle-free travel experience. Travels without worry. Visit us at jnktours.com or reach us by phone at 540-795-0381. J&K Tours.
We're back, and it is an honor to have this woman right here with me today. Please meet Michelle Gaither. Thank you so much for being here.
You are certainly welcome, Erica. I was glad to do it.
I ran into her at KNW probably a month ago, and I was like, oh my God, Miss Gaither, is that you? And sure enough, it was. She looked, she looks the exact same. So I'm so happy. I had to have you come on here.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I want to talk about what it's been all these years. You're still a guidance counselor.
Right.
You just retired.
Right.
So talk to me about your journey these past few years.
I'm from Roanoke.
Uh-huh.
Graduated from William Fleming High School. Went on to Radford University.
Okay.
Got my master's degree there as well. I was a classroom teacher. I taught special needs students for about 7 years.
Okay.
And a guidance counselor position came open. I think they had several at that time. And I applied and interviewed for one, and I was sent to Patrick Henry.
Oh, wow.
And where I met you. And and so I started that journey from starting in 1985.
Okay.
Then I became a guidance coordinator in 2001 and retired as a guidance coordinator.
Wow.
And at the time I became a guidance counselor, I'm told by some of the older educators who were there at the time that I was pretty young for being a guidance counselor, because most of the time those positions were held for some of the older teachers who had been in the field of education for quite a long time. So I started out pretty young. Like I said, I was only a classroom teacher for 7 years, and the rest of my time has been in guidance and counseling.
I love it. But it's a great thing that they did bring you in at a younger age, because it was easier, to me, it was easier to relate. You could relate to us.
Right, right. I wasn't that much older than some of the students.
No, exactly.
And I hadn't quite forgotten what it's like to be a teenager.
Right,
yeah. So you're right. I could I could relate to them. In fact, I have a funny story to tell you. I taught special needs students, and the law was that those students could go to school until they were, I believe, 20.
Oh, wow.
And so I was right out of college and started teaching at 22. I had a student who was 20.
Oh, wow.
So I was like 2 years older
than
one of my students. So if he's still living now, then I'm still, he would be about 61.
Oh,
I think. So that was real interesting. I told him one day, I said, we were practically running around in diapers at the same time.
Wow. So talk to me about, so back then it was the 80s versus now. Is there a difference in the students? Do you think there's a difference in the way kids are being raised now, or?
Oh, I definitely think there's a big difference in the way children are being raised. You can almost tell the separation. You can see it between students who are being brought up well and students who may be lacking in some areas. Their behavior is keeping them from being as successful as we as teachers and educators know that they can be. And that just keeps them from being successful, which is really, really sad.
It is.
But yeah, there's definitely a difference between then and now.
Well, we were always taught, you know, back then you had to be respectful of your elders, whereas now you don't see that as much.
No, we don't see that. And teachers really are not getting the respect or the pay that they deserve
Absolutely.
for what they have to do. So there is still some respect. There are great kids out there, and all of them are great and have the potential to be great. But a lot of them, their home situations or family situations or whatever other situations that they may have are sometimes interfering with them being the very best that they could be.
Okay. So you went from being a special ed teacher to applying for the guidance counselor role, and you got it. What made you decide that that's what you wanted to do?
Well, I knew with special ed you can get burnt out fairly quickly. And so I knew that in order to do that, to keep from doing that rather, I was going to have to move on and do something else. My master's degree is actually in student support and pupil personnel services. And my intent at the time was to be a admissions officer on a college campus. But I never could get my foot in the door. So, so I looked to see what other options were available to me. I looked at library science, and I looked at guidance and counseling because it still kept me involved with students, and I decided to go that route.
Right. That's awesome. And what are the main responsibilities? If you're a guidance counselor, what is the main responsibility of that position? What does it entail?
Well, the main responsibility is being an advocate for the student. That's what we're there for. I think that sometimes the teachers and administrators and everyone else think that we're supposed to be their advocate, but we are actually there to be
for the
students'
I know you were my
advocate. That's really what we are there for. And of course we do counseling when students come in and have situations. So awful lot of paperwork, however, as on most jobs, you know, that is true.
Absolutely.
But it's a tremendous amount of paperwork and testing and all kinds of things that go into being a guidance counselor. I have had people to say to me, well, I know what you do. You just sit and talk to students all day. And I thought, I wish that was all I had to do was sit and talk to students all day. You know, I would have had it made. But unfortunately, that's just not the reality of the situation.
Absolutely. I just think about different issues going on today, and I think about back then, and it was such a pleasure to have you and to have Anita Price was there too. So we would go talk to Anita Price. She wasn't our guidance counselor.
No, she
was
taught
our teacher.
She was your teacher, taught home economics. I remember
exactly. But to have that, you know, that was priceless. And nowadays, are kids even going to the teachers and talking to them that much, or going to the guidance counselors and asking for help with certain situations?
Yes.
They still are?
Right.
Okay.
Right. They still are. That's always going to happen.
Okay.
Because there's always going to be that teacher, that one teacher that clicks with students and students feel close to. And of course, we encourage them to come see guidance counselors and all. But it happens sort of in a cycle. I don't remember if ninth graders, I don't know if ninth graders were going to PH when you were a student there.
No, it was 10 through 12.
Well, eventually it went from being a junior high school setup to being a middle school setup. And so the ninth grade students that would have gone to junior high school, when it became middle school, started going to high school.
Okay.
In 9th grade. And so what I discovered in that was that I saw the 9th grade students quite often because they were the babies. They were the new kids
they
on the block.
More guidance.
Right. And so they needed more support, you know. In 10th grade, saw them a little bit, but not quite as much.
Okay.
11th grade, they were sort of growing up. You know, I would see them occasionally, and we saw them every year anyway because we had to do their schedules, and we had to see them at least twice a year.
Right.
And for some, we saw them more often if there were issues or questions or anything that they needed to have resolved. But a lot of times as juniors, you didn't quite see them as much, but then as seniors, they came back home because they were deciding then on colleges, careers, and things like that. And so they had a lot of questions, college applications, things that they were going to do. And I would always set up, I called them senior interviews, and for each student, I would give them a folder when they were a senior.
Right.
I would put their schedule in, their transcript. We would go over their credits. And I would put information to cover everybody, for students who were going to college, what that process was like, and what I needed for them when they would bring me their college applications.
Right.
And then also I would have information in for students who may have been military bound, and what that process was like, and taking the ASVAB and preparing them for that. And then I also prepared for students who may not have been doing either one of those things, but going to work. So there were college applications and how to interview for a job and things like that. So I tried to include that in the folder for everybody. Right. And I would call my students in one by one, and we would sit down and discuss all of those things. And I found what was happening is they were going back to class with their folders, and their friends were asking, well, what's that? And they said, well, I got this from Miss Gaither. And the other counselors, I don't know if they were probably doing something similar. The goal was always to do things similar, but you know, you do different things to reach the same goal.
Absolutely.
And that's just the way I chose to do it. And so they would come in and they said, well, Miss Gaither, I know you're not my guidance counselor, but can I have one of those folders? I said, yeah, you can have one of those folders. And I would tell them now and give them their schedule, and I'll tell them, and then you go see your guidance counselor for your transcript and things like that. So, you know, I always enjoyed that process because it was an exciting time for them.
Definitely.
And it was an exciting time for me too, seeing them grow up and coming into their own and having to make real life decisions about what they were going to do after high school.
Right. Right. I love it. I love it. Because, you know, I appreciate the fact that I could go to you when I knew that you were there. You know, no matter what kind of day I was having, no matter what I was going through, you, Mr. Day, Anita Price, I always got that push. And I just feel bad for kids that don't have that. Because, like, I'll take example my son. He didn't have a guidance counselor that encouraged him for school and college and kind of push him through. But it was okay because I did that.
Right.
You know?
Right. But you know what? Every child is not going to have that support system at home that you had or that I had when I was a student. And that's unfortunate.
It sure is.
It really
Especially
is.
this day and time.
It really is.
So I just talked to you because I wonder, it used to take a village. That's what I was always told. And really it still does.
It still does.
But some people don't want that village.
No.
And why do you think that is? Because it does so much more for your child.
Right. Right, it does. Right? I don't know. Society has changed so much, and with society changes, schools change, and everything changes. I don't know why parents decided that only I can correct my child or things like that, because it really does take advantage. We don't live in this world by ourselves, you know. Everybody needs the help of somebody at some point in time in their lives. And the good thing about what I did was, it didn't matter whether they wanted me to be involved with their child. I was going to be involved with their child, whether they liked it or not, because it was my job to do that.
And when that child is in that school, he's under your care.
He's
so that's
under
your
my
child
care.
Too.
That's my child. It's called in loco parentis. And that means in place of the parent. So when you're in school for that 6 or 7 hours, we are your parents, whether you like it or not. And we have to make those decisions that we feel like are going to be best for you. Not what you want us to do, but what we feel like is best for you. And in fact, I had a student once, it was so funny, he said, well, you have to do what I tell you to do because you're my guidance counselor. I said, no, that is not how it works. Absolutely not. And I explained in loco parentis to him. And I said, as long as you are on school grounds, I am your mother for that period of time.
Exactly.
So,
I love it.
But yeah.
Well, thank you so much. We'll be right back, everybody. Stay focused. We're back. So now Miss Gaither is retired. So how does that feel for you now?
Well, it feels wonderful. It feels wonderful. I never have been a morning person, sleep a little later. I'm a bed hugger. I'll hug onto that bed for as long as I can till I just have to get up. So,
so no more 6 o'clock in the morning
no,
for you.
No more, no more.
But you still fill in, right? So how's that going for you?
That's been going pretty well. I've been retired almost 2 years. July 1st will make 2 years. And last year I tutored students at Addison in reading, 7th grade students, and did that for most of the year. And then this year I was asked to come back and sub for a guidance counselor who was going to be out for the remainder of this school year. So I did that the last 9 weeks. So.
Now, how was that for you?
It was good. It brought back a lot of memories. And middle school is rough. It can be rough, but you know, because their hormones are just all over the place. I have a friend that who's getting ready to retire this year as well. As she says, middle schoolers, they don't know who they are, where they're going, or when they're coming back. And that's true. That is so true.
Wow.
But it was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Well, I have sure appreciated you being on here today.
Well, Erica, I appreciate you asking me, and it was so wonderful
It
seeing you
was.
again, and I'm so glad that you made me know who you were. I remembered your name, but I probably never would have just recognized you. But
I know, because I ran to you. I was like, Tommy, that's my guy. He just looked at me. I said, "No, I gotta go say something."
I know, and I'm so glad you did. I am. I'm so glad that you did.
It was really good to see you.
Good seeing you.
So, if you could give anybody that has kids and you know they're going to school now, as far as guidance, counseling, and things, if you could give any advice, what would you give right now?
My advice would be to
for students, actually.
For students. To hang in there, maintain good grades. Don't get yourself involved in anything that you might not be able to get out of that's going to end up affecting your life in some kind of adverse way. Keep those grades up, and I would encourage them to seek some kind of education beyond high school. Because things out there are so competitive these days. And we like to think that all kids are going to go to college. Well, college just isn't for everybody. But there are trade schools out there. There's Virginia Western is out there. And in order to be competitive, you almost have to have some kind of education beyond high school. So I would encourage them to, you know, to look into that and all. In fact, I think that the school system should offer more VOTEC and vocational classes to students, because we know those students who are going on to college are most likely going to do very well. Those who are going into the military have a choice of making a career out of it, or even getting some training beyond high school. But there are going to be kids who are not interested in either one. And I think it really behooves the school system or the State Department, because school systems get their directions from the State Department, to really increase vocational education and technical education to catch those students who really don't have an interest in either one, so that if they're not going on to college, they're not going into the military, that they will graduate from high school with a skill that they can use into the job market.
My son went to an academic vocational school, high school in New Jersey. So he got a certificate in graphic design while he was there, but he also got his academics to go on to school. But they had so many different choices of trades, which was really, really good.
And I think that's where some school systems are lacking. They really need to beef that up for more students.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Oh, Erica, thank you.
Anytime.
It's so good to see you.
Good to see you.
I'm always glad to see all my students.
Are there any last shout outs you want to give to anybody?
Just shout out to my family and friends and co-workers and my church members. I don't want to forget them.
Well, thank you for watching, everybody. Until tomorrow, God bless. Stay focused.